America's workforce. Its strength is our nation's success. Join Ronnie Spellman on I Build America podcast as we explore innovative solutions and inspiring stories from leaders and workers shaping America. Discover actionable insights to build a motivated workforce.
Welcome to the I Build America podcast. I am here with Lena Owens from TransTech. Welcome.
Thank you.
So we happen to be in Virginia, but you're from North Carolina.
I am. Great Tar Heel state.
I love it. And so your organization provides CDL training, and you operate in multiple states. Tell our listeners, so we're all about workforce development on this podcast, and we've been traveling the country to understand what's happening across the country within organizations and government units as they figure out how to find employees, prepare employees, train employees, create opportunities for people and their families. And what we're finding across the country is amazing. There's some innovative efforts taking place. There's some places that probably need to innovate in what they're doing, but what you seem to be building in your organization is phenomenal. So you're responsible for the recruiting side, but tell us about the organization.
Sure. TransTech, we're a CDL training program. Like you said, we're throughout North Carolina. We are spearheading a couple of schools in Georgia and South Carolina. They are opening soon. And we provide high-level CDL training to get individuals trained to join the logistics industry, transportation and logistics.
Let's get into some of the details, because CDL stands for what, first of all, for those people that might be driving and working at some other retail location?
Right. CDL is commercial driver's license.
Okay. And so what's required? You can't have just a regular car driver's license to drive a big rig truck. Is that?
That is correct. You need a little more to drive the bigger truck. So there's two classes for CDL. There's a class A, which is going to allow you to drive the large 18-wheelers. And then there's a class B that's for box trucks, passenger buses, things like that.
Okay, and what do you need to drive a bus?
You need a Class B license and with a passenger endorsement. So
Fantastic.
You can get a Class B license if you want to drive like a dump truck or a box truck, but you cannot have passengers. Then you need the passenger endorsement if you're going to drive a school bus, a city bus, a charter bus, things like that.
Fantastic. And some of my prior business ventures, I had a team that was responsible for all the licensing and making sure that all the licenses were renewed and tracking those renewal dates. And then at another organization, I worked with them to have drivers for the school bus segment. So it was a private company that worked in that. And there's a process you have to go through. So how long is the training program typically?
Typically, our program is 4 weeks for a full-time program.
Okay.
And then we also have a part-time program that's going to take you about 10 weeks.
Okay.
There were some new regulations that the Federal Motor Vehicle Association brought in 2022. So prior to that date, you could go in and to the DMV and obtain a permit on your own, hold that permit for about 14 days, and then go to your local DMV and take the skills test. After 2022, there is a formal education portion that's required. So you have to go through a school that is listed on that FMCSA website and do that training. Okay. So like I said, it's about 4 weeks for a full-time program and 10 weeks for a part-time.
Well, I want to come back to that training piece so that people can understand what it takes to get in. But walk me through the structure of your organization. So you have a lot of community partners on one end that can help with funding for training programs. And I presume after a person gets their certification, you probably have some support to help them find a job opportunity within that trucking space. So let's talk about that. But the piece I want to focus on first is, why is it important to have truck drivers in the United States? Like you mentioned logistics, supply chain management. There's a big ecosystem around the transportation industry that products are coming from all over the world to the United States, and there needs to be some movement of that product. So walk us through why it's important first, and then we can talk about your organization and getting that training.
Sure. And as you stated, it's that's how we're going to move our freight. Our trucks they never stop. We're always going to need to move freight from one place to the next. So it's very important that we have quality drivers and enough drivers to keep that freight moving, because it's a constant move.
Right. And on the big trucks, there are actually two different groups of them. You have those that are traveling across states, and then those that might travel local. So they're traveling the big trucks, but they're traveling locally. So they don't have the sleeper cabins and their vehicles. But tell us more about the industry then. What kinds of trucks and what can someone expect if they want to get into that industry?
So, what I like to speak about when I'm speaking with potential students is the expectations, what they can expect once they complete a training such as ours. And the industry as a whole, most new drivers are going to start out with that long haul. I know before I got into the business, my train of thought was, it seems like you want them local before sending them out on the road, but it's actually opposite. Most new drivers are going to start out over the road because that's really where they're going to get the bulk of that real life experience. Right. Of course, we put them behind a wheel and we take them on all types of terrains, mountainous, interstate, local, but they really need that additional training with some of the larger companies over the road to really experience how to back into those small docks and things like that.
Those truck drivers are magic workers, because I look at some of the places that they have to navigate in, some of the narrow streets they have to back into to get to that loading dock. It's amazing what they do with such a big vehicle. And then on the road, when they're driving these freeways, when cars are moving right in front of them with short room between them and the car in front of the truck. Wow. Yes. Yeah, those truck drivers are amazing.
Yes. Yeah, they are. It is an amazing industry, but it's also fantastic for those who enter into it.
Now, why is there a need for someone to provide training for the industry? I guess there's a shortage of workers. So there's a need for companies like yours, and you've been in this business. The company's been in this business for over 40 years.
Absolutely. We've been in the business for over 40 years, and it has not slowed down. It's gotten.
But you haven't been there for 40 years.
That's why I've been there for 40 years. That's correct. But I've been there for 8, and throughout the 8 years, we have not slowed down, even during COVID. Actually, COVID was some of our higher years. We did a lot of training during that time. And one thing that brought me to this industry, I came from the background of workforce development. I worked with the community action, and I would send clients through the training program. And the one thing that really stuck out to me is the forgivingness of this industry. Right. So it just opens up opportunities for a really broad array of people with backgrounds and things like that. And it really gives them an opportunity to make a decent wage to take care of their family.
So what does a wage look like? I know some places might earn maybe an hourly, some earn by mileage. I don't know if there have been any recent changes in that, but walk us through what that structure looks like. Some of the drivers own their own truck. Mm-hmm. And then they transport the material in the back of it. But walk us through the logistics of what that looks like, because people don't know. They might think they need to buy a $200,000, $500,000, however much it costs, truck in order to get in the business.
Yeah. From my standpoint, I don't recommend new drivers going into that kind of debt right out the gate. You really need to kind of work with some of the larger companies or even smaller companies, but learn the industry before jumping out there, because you can jump out there and really run into things that you're not really planning for. So I do recommend starting with some of the larger companies or local companies to get that experience before
getting their own truck. But what's neat is that, and I don't know if a lot of people recognize this, so they can get into the business once they have the experience, like almost any other, whether they're a plumber or a roofer, you get some experience behind you and then open up your own plumbing business. In this case, buy your own truck, and then you can have your own business. So it creates a little bit of independence for you as well.
Absolutely.
And business ownership as a part of that process.
Absolutely.
So what does the pay look like for a lot of these companies? What's the structure? I don't know if people really understand that element.
Most companies are going to pay by mileage.
Okay.
But new drivers come out an average of about $59,000-$60,000 on average.
Oh my.
And that's for a minimal out-of-pocket cost for the actual training, and your return on your investment is almost immediate.
That's a great income.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
What does the need look like? So you're helping to train a lot of people. How many people are coming through your program, and what's the need look like across the state or the country?
I have data from last year. Last year, we trained about 2,300 students.
You trained your company?
Our company trained about 2,300 students last year. And there's been a shortage of truck drivers since easily 2015, probably looking back even further. But right now, the industry is looking at about 128,000 shortages, and that's from individuals aging out or, deciding to go to another side of logistics and things like that. Okay. So right now, it's about the 120.
So over 2,000 trained by your organization alone.
Absolutely.
That is incredible. Why would someone want to go in the business? It seems not just for the pay, but it sounds like there's a real opportunity to build something where they own their own business at some point. They have a lot of freedom. They get to travel the country. Not that, it's not hard work, but it can be extremely fulfilling. Right?
Absolutely. For all those reasons that you named. Also, it just gives you that sense of security. If you look on Indeed or any of the job postings, you'll see CDL. And a lot of times when I have individuals calling me about training, they're saying, yeah, well, I'm in a transition from my current position, and, I'm looking at these job postings and I see CDL all over the place. Okay. So it definitely is going to offer you lots of job security.
Okay. That is really good to hear. So they looking online, they see jobs, they're not in the business now. They see CDL, they want to get into it. They reach out to you. What's the next step?
The next step, we'll do a little background, just see, why do you want to do this? Why now? Lots of individuals have thought about it for years, and they're circling back after another career. Some of them are, just starting out. I just enrolled a guy last week. He was 17, turning 18 the next day, which is the age that you have to be in order to get a CDL. So it's a wide range of people who are coming in, but we need to ensure that they have a valid license. So you have to come in with a regular driver's license prior to. You have to be 18, and then of course you have to pass the drug and alcohol and physical test.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a physical component. We used to have to send people off to the clinic to get their physical done. So
if you meet those metrics, most of the time we can train you. Okay. We are going to want to get some information about any kind of background, driving record, things like that, so that we can be as transparent as possible about job opportunities. Because that is the goal, right? Sure. To get employment.
Sure. So they come to you, they want to sign up, and they're getting ready. How much does a training program generally cost for someone?
The average cost in North Carolina is about $6,500.
Okay.
We fall in a little under that. We're about $5,000.
Okay.
And we have a lot of funding sources. So we do have people who pay out of pocket. We have parents and grandparents who have college funds that they're glad to pull $5,000 from because they saved up much more. And then we also have community agencies and partners who have skills training dollars that support the training program. So they have individuals that come to them who are underemployed, unemployed, displaced workers, things like that. And they have funding that will pay for their training.
Okay. So if someone comes to you then and they don't have the funding, they shouldn't place that barrier in front of them. They should still come to you. And it's
Absolutely.
$5,000 to get in, and they're thinking, I don't have $5,000 in my pocket right now, but I need a job, I need a career, I need something with stability and a future in it. They come to you, you will help them figure that out.
Absolutely. We'll get them connected with community partners. We'll talk through. Sometimes it's not going to the community partners. It's going to mom, dad, aunts, uncle.
Right.
So we will definitely help them put a package together
Okay.
to get this training.
What does a community partner look like? Who are they? Like what? And if I'm trying to understand how to tell an individual that you're going to go and they'll find a way to help you make that transition, what does that look like? And by the way, after you answer that question, I've seen so many service members that are transitioning out of service, finding great opportunities in this industry as well. So we'll come back to that. But
Absolutely.
someone shouldn't place a barrier in front of them if they're looking to make a transition. They want to work, they're dedicated to working, and they're looking for a career option for them. This is definitely, they don't need to go into technology or become a software programmer, which is a great industry as well. But there are some options, right?
There are options, and our community partners look like workforce development.
Okay.
So of course we're mostly in North Carolina, so NC Works, Georgia Works, South Carolina Works. Those programs, we have a lot of community action organizations who have training dollars with the community block grant that is used for that. We have local goodwill organizations who have skills training dollars. So there are lots of organizations throughout the community. We have reentry programs. Just a plethora of programs.
Now, you mentioned a lot of great things there. And I was having this conversation with someone earlier that you've been in the industry, so you know what all of that means. But for either leaders in other parts of the country or individuals, they don't know what reentry means or what you're talking about. They don't know what some of those systems and services are. And part of the whole goal for us in this podcast is to bring an understanding of these options and opportunities. What's working well? What do we need to change? But there are so many great organizations, so many great programs, a lot of funding. So if someone really wants to work, right, and make a living, there is an opportunity. And let's say they can't get the 5,000 immediately, they shouldn't give up, right?
Never give up. For example, right now we're in a time where funding is low or have run out for the fiscal year.
Sure.
So still don't give up. We still encourage, go to the organization, get on the waiting list, start the paperwork, start the process, because there may not be funds now, but there will be funds in the future. So you want to make sure. There are lots and lots of funding sources. Is there enough? No,
Right.
but there are opportunities, and so I just really encourage individuals who are interested, don't give up, and stay in contact with us or your organization that you're working with, because you will eventually get through.
So you mentioned over 2,000 people came through the program. What does the typical profile look? You mentioned a 17-year-old that's getting ready to turn 18. I mentioned the veterans that are coming out. You're in North Carolina with a number of military bases. What are you finding for your client, the person being trained in your programs?
So there is no typical. It's from one end of the spectrum to the other. Men, women, young, old, just all in between. Speaking of military, we are one of the only schools in North Carolina that are able to take the GI Bill, so we can use that military funding that individuals have to support their training.
Revelation on our program.
Yes.
So you are qualified for them to use your GI Bill.
Yes.
That is amazing.
Yes.
And one of only in North Carolina that's qualified.
One of the only. There may be one other school in North Carolina, maybe.
That's a game changer.
But yes.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
Okay.
That we worked on that really hard, but we started taking GI Bill last year, and we have probably trained about I would say about 100 ex-military veterans with benefits.
About 100.
About a
I
100
mean,
since last year.
I suspect that many of our service members might not know that option exists.
I would suspect that they probably don't, because years prior, when we were getting calls, hey, I have a GI Bill. Can I use my GI Bill? No, we can't take it yet. So we are having people who are circling back around just to see, hey, do you take it? Or new people who are just cold calling, hey, do you take the GI
That's
Bill?
cool.
funding?
And I believe I believe it's still the case, but I think the GI Bill is transferable to the kids still.
There are some bills, and that's getting a lot of, but there are some benefits that are transferable, absolutely, to children, spouses, absolutely.
And I mention that because if I'm a former service member and I have a kid that's getting ready to plan their career, there are some options. If it's transferable, they need to look into it to make sure that they're processing it properly. But the idea of being able to transfer that to my kid and then they can go to your program and get the training at no cost or less cost, that's an incredible opportunity.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's fantastic. So your demographic is fairly broad, people coming from every walks of life and finding you and creating this career option. One of the items we discussed is the process of being a driver. You're finding that a lot of couples are coming in to become drivers. Tell us more about that premise.
Yes, a lot of couples are coming in because we know we have the logs. They're required to use driving logs, and they're limited on the amount of driving time that they can do in a day. It's like 11 hours. So what we're finding is we have a lot of couples, married couples, boyfriend and girlfriend, just friends who are coming in. They take the training together, and then they go to a company that offer team driving. That way they're team driving and they're doubling their amount of time behind the wheel, which also helps their income, because when you team drive, you're splitting the rate, but you're doing more hours, so you're allowed to have a longer driving time.
Right, and that makes sense because they don't have the extra overhead cost of a different vehicle.
Correct.
So they're splitting the time in a single vehicle and then getting the extra hours of work, which seems like an incredible option and opportunity for people.
Yes, and it allows them to live on the road. So a lot of couples, at least, they don't have homes. They just kind of live on the road and stop and vacation wherever they are. So it opens up a great life for individuals who are
interested in those trucks are fancy though.
They are nice. There are some very nice trucks.
Tell us what you find in there.
So I am not in the truck, but I've gotten into a lot when we have job fairs and things like that. They have full-size beds, refrigerators, TV setup, system setup. It's really like a mobile home. I mean, it's a little smaller, but it's amazing when you get into these things. It's amazing. They're very nice.
And they don't have to pay for housing on the road, right?
Don't have to pay for housing on the road. Getting paid while being on the road.
Right, which is a phenomenal option. So what's next for the organization and your program, your training program for CDL drivers?
For our organization specifically, we are continuing to grow. Like I mentioned earlier, we have 2 new schools in South Carolina and Georgia. We are moving further east into Florida and some of those other things. So we're growing. That's the key for our school. And I guess I would say we're growing along with the industry.
Okay.
The industry is growing, with something we spoke about earlier with technology and things like that. But there's still going to need, there's still going to be a need for
So let me
drivers.
ask that then, just to give more specifics in my question. There's a lot of talk about driverless vehicles in general, and then driverless trucks, semi-trucks. Over-the-road trucks, and it hasn't yet. I think they're still testing and building out the technology, but what do you see the future is in trucks that are driving without people in them?
I don't see a lot of that in at least my work future. I don't think that that's going to be something that's going to come to full fruition, at least during my work lifetime. Maybe, further in the future, but I know AI is being used more so for things like your logging and your like keeping up with their material and freight and things like that. So I think where we may see that a little more is for like the longer trips, but the shorter trips are always probably going to have a human need. So still an open question where AI is going to take us, but I don't foresee it in the near future taking over too much.
And I ask that because it would be unfortunate for someone to look at the news and think, this is not a profession for me to go, because in a year, these trucks are going to be driving by themselves and they don't need me, but they're still needed. These drivers are still needed. The training is
very much so. Yeah. Very much so still needed, and will be for the near distant future.
Now, from the other side of the technology end of it, just like our cars, I got into a friend's car the other day that was a new model. And it looked like I walked into an aircraft with all these fancy tools and technology and these big screens and touch screens. And I suspect the truck driving industry is seeing the same from the use of technology in the vehicles.
Absolutely. Absolutely they are, especially your larger carriers. Yes. And just like the demographics that are coming for training, you're going to find a broad spectrum of trucks that are still on the road, from some of our older manual driving trucks to some of the newer spaceship trucks.
Beautiful.
So they
driver assistance, I presume. You can more cameras around the truck so you can see what's happening, which just makes our roads safer.
Yes.
I know with the big trucks, there's always a debate from a public policy perspective, even having those large trucks in some of the roads, because they're so much heavier on our road infrastructure. But they are so critical to have. When I drive across the country and I see the welcome stops with all the trucks in it, I'm actually happy to see all of those trucks delivering the materials that we need in our grocery stores and our retail stores, and the online buying that happens that requires those delivery of materials. It's incredible to see.
Yes.
It warms me to see that there's so much productivity in the country from all the work that's happening. Yeah.
For sure. We will we'll definitely always, for a very, very long time, see that freight being moved via trucks.
Right. So you're at a workforce development conference. Why are you at a workforce development conference?
I am at a workforce development conference, just loading up on all the information that's out there in the world of workforce development. Yes. That is a huge part of what I do within the company, working in and with workforce development. So just here gathering all the information. I had a wonderful session yesterday on the Washington updates.
Okay.
That's always something in my head. What are we doing in Washington? What are they doing in Washington? How is that gonna affect how we train, or if we can train, with those training dollars?
Right, exactly. Well, it's been delightful to have you talk about the industry of truck driving. It's been on my list for a really long time to have a conversation about it, because I want people to know that this is just a great place to be. You're in Virginia currently for your conference, even though you're from North Carolina. And in Virginia, they have a huge port, and that port requires the engagement with a lot of drivers. That's taking material down in North Carolina and all over the eastern part of the country, and I'm sure beyond. So it's such a viable need here in our country, and a great opportunity from a workforce development. When someone enters your training program, I know we briefly touched on this, do you oftentimes have a place for them to go? Are you working on that from a placement perspective?
We do. We actually, and within our company, we have a department that's specifically designed to work with our students who are, of course, they're seeking job placement. So we have a partnership with over 60 carriers.
60?
Who hire directly from our school. And we have recruiting events a few times a week at each of our individual campuses. campuses. So we are getting them trained, and we are definitely getting them back into the workforce.
That is incredible.
Absolutely.
Not to put you on the spot, I wouldn't ask you to list all 60, but who are some of your top partners that take a lot of your graduates? I think it's worth at least giving them a little recognition.
Sure. Snyder, Swift, Western Express.
Fantastic.
To name a few.
Yep.
There's several others, but those are to name a few.
That is wonderful.
Yeah.
I am so elated to have you on the program. I hope that people find your organization. If someone wants to find your company, where would they go?
They will go. Our website is www.trans-tech.net.
Right. Well, I'm excited. On our podcast, we're all about workforce development, bringing opportunities to people, helping people understand what's available, but also helping leaders across the country recognize that there are viable options. Now, I'm sure some of the leaders are often thinking of technology only, maybe as a workforce development, but they need to look at partnerships with organizations like yours and partnerships with organizations like Swift, and even Amazon has their own internal large logistics operation, but they need to work with them just to make sure that we can continue giving people jobs and careers and opportunities. So I appreciate you telling us all about your industry.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Congratulations on over 2,000 people a year being trained in CDL. That is incredible.
Thank you.
Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us on the I Build America podcast, where we explore options and opportunities and successes in workforce development.
Thank you for listening to the I Build America podcast. Please subscribe, share, and comment, and be sure to join us next time for more insights and inspiring conversations on building a powerful American workforce. I Build America, building workforce success one podcast at a time.
I build America.